You know what's been on my mind lately?
What's that?
Capitalism. It's like, it's such a huge part of our lives, but do we really understand it?
Yeah, it's everywhere, right? But sometimes it
Exactly.
feels a bit complicated.
Totally. So, let's break it down. Capitalism is basically an economic system where private individuals and businesses own the means of production and operate for profit.
Right? So it's all about private ownership and making money?
Yeah, and it's based on free markets, competition, and minimal government intervention.
Mm-hmm. But it's not just about the economy, it's about how society is structured too.
Exactly. While it has driven economic growth and innovation,
Yeah?
it also has downsides like wealth inequality and market failures.
So, what are the core principles that make capitalism tick?
Well, first off, private ownership. Businesses and individuals control property and industries, not the government.
Got it. So that's why, you can own your own business or your own home.
Exactly. Then there's free markets and competition. Prices and wages are determined by supply and demand.
Not by some central planning committee.
Right. Not by central planning. And the profit motive, which means businesses seek to maximize profits, driving innovation and efficiency.
So companies try to make more money by making better products or services?
Yes, and of course, limited government role. Governments typically regulate but don't control the economy.
But they still have some say, right? Like setting rules?
Well, absolutely. They set the rules of the game but don't play the game itself.
Where did all this start anyway?
So, historically, capitalism has evolved over centuries. Back in the 16th to 18th centuries, mercantilism and early capitalism fueled European exploration and trade.
Oh, yeah, like the Age of Discovery? When they were
Exactly.
sailing around the world.
Exactly. Then, the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries expanded capitalism, increasing mass production and wealth.
That was when factories started popping up everywhere, right?
Yep, and that led to massive economic growth. Then, in the 20th century, we saw the rise of mixed economies, where governments regulated capitalism to address social concerns.
So that's when things like labor laws and social security came into play?
Yeah, and today, most countries operate under a regulated capitalist system, blending free markets with government oversight.
So, what are the biggest advantages of capitalism?
Well, economic growth is a big one. Capitalism has led to unprecedented increases in wealth, production, and innovation.
Right? Like all the technological advancements we see today?
Exactly. Also, consumer choice. Individuals have more options in products, services, and job opportunities.
We can pretty much buy whatever we want, whenever we want.
Exactly. And competition encourages businesses to improve and develop new technologies.
So, companies are always trying to outdo each other, which
Haha,
benefits
yes.
us?
And there's an incentive for hard work. People are rewarded based on merit, effort, and entrepreneurship.
So, if you work hard, you can make it big?
Well, in theory, yes. And capitalism provides flexibility and adaptability. Markets adjust to consumer demand and technological advances.
But wait, does everyone really have the same shot at success? I mean,
Well,
wealth inequality is a thing.
you're right. That's one of the cons. Capitalism often leads to a concentration of wealth among the few, widening the gap between rich and poor.
Yeah, and without regulation, businesses might exploit workers, underpaying them and creating poor working conditions.
Exactly. And market failures are another issue. Capitalism struggles to address public goods, environmental damage, and financial crises.
Like when companies pollute the environment but don't pay for the cleanup?
Mm-hmm. It's like it's like having a party and leaving the mess for someone else to clean up.
Haha, that's a good way to put it.
Also, capitalism can lead to boom and bust cycles, with periods of economic expansion and collapse leading to recessions.
Yeah, we've definitely felt that in recent times.
And corporate power and corruption. Large corporations can influence politics and limit competition through monopolies.
So sometimes the free market isn't so free.
Exactly.
Are there different types of capitalism?
Oh, yeah. There's laissez-faire capitalism, with minimal government involvement and full reliance on free markets.
That sounds like the Wild West of economics.
Haha. Then there's welfare capitalism, which blends free markets with social safety nets, like healthcare, pensions, and public education.
So countries like Sweden or Norway?
Exactly. There's also state capitalism, where the government plays a role in directing industries while maintaining private ownership, like in China or Russia.
Interesting. And crony capitalism?
That's when businesses gain advantages through political connections rather than competition.
So not exactly fair play. How does capitalism compare to socialism or communism?
Well, under capitalism, ownership is in private hands, whereas socialism has government or community ownership, and communism involves no private ownership with state control.
So the control over resources shifts from individuals to the state?
Exactly. And in economic models, capitalism relies on free markets and competition, socialism has regulated markets with redistribution, and communism has a centralized economy with state planning.
And what about wealth distribution?
In capitalism, it's unequal but based on market success. In socialism, it's more equal but still allows private property. In communism, it's fully equalized but with government control.
But doesn't that affect innovation?
Yes, capitalism encourages rapid technological growth, while socialism has innovation with government funding, and communism often has limited innovation due to government planning.
Makes sense. And examples?
Capitalist countries include the US, Canada, Japan, and the UK. Socialism is seen in Sweden, Germany, Norway, and communism in the former Soviet Union, Maoist China, and North Korea.
So each system has its own pros and cons. What are some common myths about capitalism?
Well, one is that capitalism is purely free market. But most capitalist economies have some level of government regulation.
Yeah, like laws to protect consumers and workers?
Exactly. Another myth is that capitalism always leads to prosperity. While it drives growth, it can also create poverty and inequality.
Right, not everyone benefits equally.
Also, people think capitalism and democracy always go together, but some authoritarian states use state capitalism.
Like China?
Yes, and the idea that capitalism prevents corruption. Unregulated capitalism can lead to corporate monopolies and political corruption.
So regulations are important to keep things fair?
Exactly.
So all in all, capitalism has its strengths and weaknesses.
Yup, it's the dominant economic system worldwide, but it's not perfect.
Governments regulate capitalism to balance economic freedom with social responsibility.
And understanding these strengths and weaknesses helps us engage in informed discussions about policy, taxation, and economic reform.
Well said. It's important to keep the conversation going.
Definitely.